Hello, everybody. It's Thorfinn here, and don't mind my sound. I'm pretty sick and nasally, but I want to talk about the patches today. So they're not coming out today, right? I talked about the patch and its implications like a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago, but now we officially have the patches here. So it's kind of one thing that I want to talk about. I'm gonna pull up Valorant just so I can demonstrate stuff later. But the first thing that I want to do is kind of talk about Clove, because this whole patch is derived around duelists. So I kind of want to get Clove out of the way and then talk about the duelists. So blah 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 blah. Okay, Clove is really strong in ranked, and I think that this nerf is kind of necessary. I think the alt one is more necessary in my opinion. I think this is kind of pushing it on what is allowed, but you guys should watch the Plat Chat interview where they talk to Penguin. He's one of the lead developers on Valorant, and he kind of talks about healing. Like, healing agents are always like really good in ranked, so he's just trying to really tune them down. I think this is really important because, let me tell you, dude, like, it sometimes feels like, you know, like when you're playing, you know, Clove gets their ultimate like 3 times and a half. So that can be really fucked, especially when you kill Clove and then, you know, there was a ranked game where we had like a Sage and my duo was playing Clove, and he had like 27 deaths, which is just insane. Like that's res, like res ultimate, like a bunch of other shit, right? And it just racks up alt orbs because, again, like, you're dying. You know, you're dying at the end of this, so you're automatically gonna get an all orb back. So you only need 6, and then if you're farming alt orbs, and then you're also playing entry, getting kills, like, you just get a lot of orbs, and it's just really annoying to deal with that. And there's really no counterplay to it, which is why I like that they added a little bit more delay. Which means that if a Clove, like, you can chase a Clove, right? Like, if you're close enough, you can chase the Clove down and just kill them before they can get out of it. So I'm going to go all the way up. We're going to talk about these ISO changes. I don't think this is going to change him in pro play. I think even Penguin talked about that, but I think maybe in ranked, he'll get played probably a little bit more. ISO now grants himself a shield upon finishing a 1-second animation, during which he can't use his gun. I think this is really important. I think the fact that this wasn't how he was originally designed was really stupid, because essentially what you have to think about it is, like, each ability in the game has like a net gain, where, especially like the rechargeable ability, where you just kind of like pop it and it does its thing, right? Especially if it's not something that like heals you, or so, like, especially if it's a healing ability. Rita's the only one, like, not like this, which is why I think that she's not very strong in pro play, and she's not, like, in, you know, she's only insane in ranked because of, like, just being able to consistently take duels, right? Like, realistically, if you're playing like actual like fair ranked game, aka like a 5v5 where each player has like the same amount of skill and confidence, like, Reyna's not that good, right? Which is why she's not that good in pro plays, because, like, you know, Reyna in ranked is like, oh fuck, dude, this guy's gonna take 3 1v1s. Reyna in pro play, you're taking a 2v1, you're getting sat like a dog, or you're taking a 1v1 against someone who has like the same amount of skill as you, so we're just gonna put you down like a dog. So I think that this is a pretty good change to just give him a net advantage in gunfights. He also only has 1 charge of the shield, but it resets. So basically he can pop the shield, get a kill, and then I think he still has the ball, so he has the ball to get the shield back after killing someone, which I still think just makes him not great. The damage indicator, I don't think is really gonna matter unless you don't have ears. Like I'm not even trying to be like insensitive with that, but that's literally what it is. So I mean, it's pretty cool, and I think that like they'll never really fully implement like directional audio, kind of like Fortnite, just because it would be too good from a player perspective. This is relevant if he gets refreshed charge or just double tap from getting 2 kills. So basically, like he could have the shield. The shield has a duration. So basically, he pops a shield, he wastes a charge, he gets 2 kills while still having the shield up, and he can recharge the shield to keep it still going. So that'd be interesting. Next is Neon. So this one is like the big one. Neon, realistically, out of all the duelists they buffed, was the one that was going to see play, because essentially, like what you have in like a normal meta composition here, right, is basically like what you have is you have movement, and then movement duelist, right? So you have these because you usually just have a single duelist, right? So you have movement, and then you have flash, or then you have info, right? Then you have flash, right? Then you have sentinel, and then you have smokes. So realistically, that's kind of where you're at, right? Like you're not doing anything else. And then sometimes, like, obviously you're changes out, but like as you can see, like there's really no room in the 5-man composition for an extra duelist most of the time, especially on a lot of maps, because a lot of maps are attack sided in Valorant, and a double duelist comp is supposed to be attack sided, which is why it was used on maps like Split, and really nowhere else, right? Because Split was like one of the defensive comps. I think on a set maybe you could probably get away with the double duelist comp realistically if you play it well, but because Sky got nerfed, it's kind of iffy. But anyways, so first the fast lane, right, which is her C, dissipates from behind to minimize visual noise in combat space while giving cover for Neon. So essentially what that means is, right, is I'll do it here, so we're gonna delete everything. So essentially what that means, right, is this is the wall, okay? So Neon pops her wall, okay? Really shitty drawing by me, but don't worry about it. So instead of just insta dropping like most walls do, it will instead, it'll instead like fade. So imagine this but reverse, right? So if it gets casted from here, it'll start to dissipate from here all the way to the end of the wall. I think it's a really good change, and I think that it lowers the chaos factor, right? Because a big thing is with wall utility is that it's always very super broad, and if it just insta drops, it can really throw people off, which is why I think Viper is really strong, because like you can just insta drop the wall, and then all of a sudden the guy who's trying to reposition himself is just fucked, because you have like no clue. It's not even on a timer, right? Like Harbor, it's just like you drop it whenever you want to drop it. So I like that this I think this is the way most wall smokes should work, is that they distinguish from where they were casted and they drop down slowly to kind of give them, because wall smokes are super fucking good, right? Because it just blocks off so many angles with only one piece of utility, as well as like they're usually very fast. Sorry, they're like just super fast. Where the fuck is this trending? Whatever. I hate Twitter. Anyway, so the wall duration lasts shorter, but also you have to think about like the dissolve, right? So the dissolve duration is 2 seconds. So what that means is, right, is that realistically it's the same for the longest point. The farthest point in the neon wall is still going to be up for roughly 6 seconds. So it's kind of like a change to make sure that the wall doesn't last longer than it usually would. High gear, aka the sprint. Neon no longer has her straight speed reduced while sprinting. This means basically, to put it simply, like when you're sprinting, something that I used to play a little bit of Neon, but basically, like, if you were moving side to side, you were slower than if you were just running straight forward. It felt really clunky, and I think that's kind of like the main reason why they made this change, as well as it makes Neon like pretty good for getting information by herself and being a little bit self-productive, because if you have the sprint activated, you can very quickly jiggle and get info and just kind of fuck off, which I think is actually a really good buff, realistically. And then the max sprint speed, this is the max sprint speed while strafing. Time until full fuel regen went from 60 seconds to 20 seconds. Neon is going to be meta, just because of that change, right? Now you might be wondering why I would consider that, right? Like, why does that change specifically make her meta over the rest of the changes that she's being given? And that's pretty simple. It's just because of how the game is being played right now, right? So we're gonna go to I'm gonna do like sunset, actually, right? So kind of how you should play this map, in my opinion, right, is I'm not even gonna pull like agents, so I'm gonna just do like a little X's. So I should play this map realistically, right, is you should have weak side on A, strong side on B. Now, the reason why is because it is so easy to play retake on B. So playing strong side on B is really important, or at least like towards this mid area, right? So kind of here's how I think. So B space is like this, right? And then A space is like this. Okay, so as you can see, B space is a lot bigger, and genuinely in these kind of like in this ideology that I have for playing the game, the bigger is where you want the most players, right? Because it's usually going to be the easiest retake. It's going to be the easiest to split. It's going to be the easiest to do like complex strats that have a high ceiling for working, right? Like a high like level to how good they are, whereas an A, right, like a full hit on A is like really fucking lame. Okay, like it's not as good as people think it is. Like A is genuinely realistically pretty hard to get through, right? Because you have this really tight choke that gets one-wayed, and then you have a long tight choke that takes a while for you to actually like meet up and group with these guys. So realistically, right, like you want to play weak side towards A, and then you want to play strong side B, which means you're most likely going to have like your Omen, you're going to have like another person leaning towards like top mid, you're going to have your Cypher playing like towards the bomb site, and you're going to have like two players kind of playing like off A or just playing like for info, right? So how that works, right, is because you have this meta of playing a lot of agents towards this B bomb site, you have a lot of retakes, right, which is kind of how the game is working right now. You have a lot of retake situations because the way that the game works at this current point, there's a lot of agents that just fuck you if you try to anchor, which I think has always been the case in Valorant and kind of been like the big important part of balancing that I think still needs to be addressed, is making sure that like agents are like good at anchoring. I think Cypher, with all of his buffs, has low-key started to become one of the only agents where you can confidently sit him on a site and be like, hey, if he has another person with him, you're gonna make this take really hard. And the way that the bomb site is, it's kind of hard to take, but it's really easy to play retake off of. So Neon, why this 20-second change is really important is Neon can run up here, do a fight, run back, and then her sprint only takes 20 seconds to recharge rather than 60. So even though she's doing all this running around, she'll have her sprint back a lot faster to either A, rotate after fighting, right? And just rotate and reading the stack, or just getting ready to full sprint in and cause a lot of chaos on the retake, which I think was one thing that really sucked, because if you don't really have a lot of sprint, you can't really get use of your slide. And if you can't get use of your slide, you're really, you're only really getting value off of like one piece of utility, because the wall isn't like the easiest thing to get off of either. So you now have 2 slides, right, which I think is pretty good. Neon now removes all weapon movement error when sliding. So basically what this means, right, is that while Neon is sliding, she's going to be accurate. Personally, I think that this change is it's going to be really divisive. It's either going to be people really like it or people really hate it. But I can understand why they're doing it, right? So if any of you don't know, this is how it stacks up in terms of moving with one ability, not including raised double satchel, but moving with one ability. This is how it stacks up. Neon moves the shortest distance, Jet moves second, Raze moves the first, and that's just with one satchel, by the way. Right, so this isn't double satchel, this is one satchel. So the value that you're getting out of space gained is really fucked for Neon, especially because Neon is on the ground. So you're hitting things like trap wires, you're hitting things like nano swarms and stuff, and it requires a lot of setup in order to actually get value out of it, but it's not as good as the rest. So essentially what this is doing is making it so where Neon has a bit of leeway room when you hit that slide key. You're not just kind of sending yourself in to die. Like, you have the ability to defend yourself. So even if someone tries to catch you while sliding in, you're able to get the kill because you're not going as far. You're taking more chip damage on the way through. And you're not able to hide yourself, you're not able to double satchel bucky someone, you're not able to just avoid every single piece of util ever. So I actually really like this change in comparison to what a lot of people have been saying about it. So second slide is 150. Equips out of slide is fast, but now it's instant. So equipping guns is like that, right? And then there's a slide equip buffer, so you can't like just and then double slide, but you can decently just slide, wait, slide, which I think is gonna be pretty interesting. That's kind of all I really want to talk about. The relay bolt thing is kind of like, I think it's mainly just the amount of utility that she would have with 2 slides, so they took away a relay bolt. I don't think it's necessarily like the most insane thing. I do like the buff to it though, where it's 3.5 to kind of balance out that, as well as just make it easier to follow up on a stun. Reyna's kit is like kind of confusing because they said that they wanted to make her better for pro play, but this really doesn't do that. Her ult's a lot better, so we'll take that. The dismiss duration is lower, but you move faster and you scale faster. Well, you move faster and you scale more distances, so I'm kind of interested to see how that works. All right, anyway. So it's gonna be kind of interesting to see how exactly that works. Again, just really not good for pro play. And then the healing got decreased to 50. The full heal time is 2 seconds, which is not even half of 3 seconds, so technically it's kind of shittier, low-key. And then overheal of armor no longer decays after a timer. I think that's pretty solid because it's a lower heal than Clove, so it's gonna last a little bit longer. So we'll take it. But yeah, those are the big ones. I don't really feel like I need to talk about that. Like it's kind of just a ranked thing. And then Raised Blast Pack. Raised satchels no longer explode for damage / knockback upon destruction. This is really important, and I really like the way that they did this, right? So the big problem with Raise is that you can just throw satchels at people and fuck them over, and just push them around a little bit, bop them around, and make it really hard for them to kill you in an isolated close range 1v1. But now, if you shoot that satchel, you don't have to worry about that problem. I don't know if you can shoot the satchels midair. I'm assuming you can. So realistically, that's going to be a pretty important skill thing to do, because originally, right, like if you shot it, it still fucking damaged you, still knocked you back. So there was just no point. It was just kind of like you tank it. But now there's a little bit of outplay to that. Horizontal velocity when satcheling has been slowed. I'm assuming it's going to do this for the satchel. So one satchel is going to equal one jet dash, which I don't think is like the worst fucking thing in the world. I think that's actually pretty fucking good. And then satchel audio has been updated to hear her from farther away, to ensure enemies can hear the first satchel when to raise double satchels. I think this is pretty solid because a lot of the time, like if you're on a site that's like decently big and open, kind of like if you're like back here, right, you just only hear the second satchel, and by then it's too late. You're getting slapped in the face with the judge. So I feel like that's realistically not bad because of just like the space you can travel with Raise. But other than that, these are all the buffs that, okay, that's an insane take. Anyway, so these are all the buffs, and I'm really excited to see the Neon buff. All the other ones are just kind of like, yeah, like their quality of life stuff. Nothing that I think is going to impact the meta. But I think Neon is going to directly impact the meta, especially with Haven returning. I think Haven is a really good Neon map. I think realistically, like Jet, the only time you really want to play Jet is if you have like someone who's really good at Jet and is an opper, but I think most of the time you just prefer a Neon, realistically, especially with like rotations and stuff like that. So we'll see how it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This was an extra long one, deep analysis dive, but yeah, this patch is going to change the meta. I'm excited to play Neon, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.